Hunters Blessed. Prologue. The Twilight Before Dawn. There was once a saying known by every child on the continent of Eldros. The forests give life, the mountains shelter it, the seas connect it, and the gods watch over all. For nearly 2,000 years, those words had remained true. The kingdom of Valinor prospered beneath fertile plains where golden wheat swayed like oceans beneath the summer sun. To the east, the merchant republics of Virel filled their harbors with ships carrying spices, silk, and steel from distant shores. The dwarven clans carved magnificent citadels into the Iron Spire Mountains, while the elven kingdoms of Sylvandor guarded forests so ancient that some claimed the first gods had walked beneath their branches. The beastkin roamed the great grasslands, the dragonkin governed the volcanic south, and even the isolated tribes of the frozen north maintained an uneasy peace with the civilized world. The races argued, kings waged wars, nobles schemed against one another, the Church of Radiance declared heretics, merchants manipulated markets. Such conflicts were as old as civilization itself. Yet through all of history, one truth remained unchanged. No darkness lasted forever. Until now. It began quietly. A shepherd discovered 3 sheep with eyes as black as obsidian. A hunter returned from the woods, unable to explain why every bird had vanished from an entire valley. Rivers once clear enough to reflect the stars became stained with an oily darkness that no current could wash away. At first, people blamed disease, then magic, then curses. By the time kingdoms began to pay attention, entire villages had already disappeared, not destroyed, simply gone. The only things left behind were empty homes, untouched meals upon wooden tables, and deep claw marks carved into stone. Those few who survived spoke of impossible things. A bear that refused to die despite 100 arrows. A knight who butchered his own company before laughing as black smoke poured from the gaps in his armor. Children who wandered into forests following whispers no one else could hear. Priests named it divine punishment. Scholars called it an unknown phenomenon. Kings dismissed it as superstition until the monsters came. They were unlike any beasts recorded in history. Ordinary wolves became towering predators capable of tearing apart castle gates. Wild boars grew larger than houses, their tusks hard enough to shatter enchanted steel. Even dragons, creatures long believed untouchable, were said to have disappeared after flying into regions consumed by an unnatural black mist. Wherever the corruption spread, life itself seemed to reject the land. Crops failed, animals fled, the air grew cold, hope withered. Some called it the Blight. Others whispered a far older name, the Hollow. No one knew where it had come from or why. Fear is a patient teacher. Before long, people sought someone to blame. Old prejudices resurfaced. Beastkin were accused of spreading the corruption. Dark magic practitioners were burned without trial. Entire villages were abandoned because one child had been born with crimson eyes. Those who wielded forbidden or misunderstood classes found themselves hunted not for what they had done, but for what they might one day become. After all, history remembered the tragedies of the dark classes. Men and women who had once been heroes before losing themselves to powers that devoured reason. The berserker, the blood mage, the necromancer, the lycanthrope. Whether they had chosen their fate or not no longer mattered. Fear rarely cared for truth, and when people became afraid, they often created the very monsters they claimed to fight. High above the world, beyond the sight of mortals, the gods watched in silence. Some wished to intervene, others believed humanity must forge its own path. One remained apart from them all, deep within an endless forest, where silver leaves never fell. The god of hunts stood beneath the boughs of the world tree. His wolves lay quietly at his side. Golden eyes gazed not upon kings or armies, but upon a single thread woven into the tapestry of fate. A soul that had not yet awakened in this world. A hunter who knew nothing of the burden awaiting him. The god of hunts closed his eyes. The forest does not choose between wolf and deer, he murmured. It simply asks whether either remembers its place within the balance. Far below, beneath an unfamiliar moon, destiny had already begun to move, and with it, the first step toward either salvation or ruin. Chapter 1. The Wheel of Fate. The rain had finally stopped. Water still clung stubbornly to the guardrails lining the pedestrian overpass, each droplet reflecting the glow of the city below. Thousands of headlights stretched into the distance like rivers of molten gold, while towering office buildings pierced the evening sky, their windows shining against the dark clouds retreating toward the horizon. Adrian rested both hands on the gold railing. He let out a slow breath. So, that's another week over, the city answered only with a distant hum of traffic. At 26, Adrian often wondered when life had quietly settled into routine. Wake up, go to work, return home, sleep, repeat. His apartment was small, his salary was enough. He had friends he spoke to every now and then. Nothing was particularly wrong with his life, yet nothing truly felt alive either. He wasn't unhappy, just unfinished. His father used to say that every man needed something worth chasing. A hunter without prey eventually forgets why he sharpened his spear. Adrian hadn't understood those words when he was a child. His father had been a forest ranger before illness claimed him years earlier. The old man loved forests far more than cities. Whenever they camped together, he would point towards the moonlit woods and tells stories of wolves, not monsters that hunted people, but guardians that maintained the balance of nature. Wolves don't kill because they hate, his father once said while tending a campfire. They hunt because life demands it. Never mistake necessity for cruelty. Those words had stayed with Adrian. Perhaps that was why he always preferred hiking trails over shopping malls, mountain air over crowded streets. Perhaps that was why he smiled every time he saw a documentary about wolves. His phone buzzed. A notification. Congratulations! Weekly login bonus received. He laughed. Even my games are reminding me I log in more consistently than I live. He slipped the phone into his pocket and started down the stairs. The pedestrian crossing light turned green. People crossed without acknowledging one another. Students, office workers, an elderly couple, a mother holding her little daughter's hand. Ordinary lives, ordinary dreams. Then suddenly, the little girl let go of her big red balloon. It floated upwards. My balloon! She chased after it. Straight into the road. Everything slowed. Someone screamed. Headlights exploded across Adrian's vision. Without thinking, he ran. His shoe slammed against wet asphalt. He grabbed the girl around the waist and threw her towards the horrified mother. The child landed safely. Adrian never heard the mother's cry, only the deafening horn. Impact. The world became weightless. Darkness, not frightening darkness, peaceful darkness, like drifting beneath calm water. There was no pain, no fear, only silence. Interesting. A voice echoed somewhere beyond the void. So this is the one, another voice replied. He died protecting another. Many do, but not all without hesitation. The darkness cracked. Light seeped through countless fractures until the entire world shattered like glass. Adrian opened his eyes. Above him stretched a sky unlike any he had ever imagined. There was no sun, no moon, only an endless sea of stars, flowing like rivers across a ceiling of midnight blue. He found himself standing within a vast circular hall, carved from white stone. The floor resembled polished marble, though faint silver veins pulsed beneath its surface, as though the building itself possessed a heartbeat. Around the chamber stood colossal pillars, wrapped in flowering vines. Beyond them, nothing. Only stars. No walls, no horizon. The hall simply floated amidst the cosmos. Am I dreaming? You are dead. The voice was calm. Matter of fact, Adrian slowly turned. 7 figures sat upon thrones, arranged in a wide circle. No, not merely sat. Their presence alone bent reality. One radiated warmth like spring sunlight. Another shimmered with oceans swirling inside flowing robes. One wore armor forged from living fire. Each throne reflected the domain of its occupant. Life, war, knowledge, fortune, sea, flame, and the seventh. Adrian frowned. Unlike the others, the final throne stood beneath the shadow of a massive ancient tree whose branches disappeared into the stars. Its occupant remained almost completely hidden beneath a cloak of ash-gray feathers. Antlers resembling silver branches rose from the hood. Two wolves rested at the figure's feet. Neither moved, yet Adrian felt they were watching him. The cloaked god said nothing. Instead, the goddess, seated nearest him, smiled gently. "You are remarkably composed. I think my brain hasn't caught up yet." An amused chuckle spread among several gods. "I suppose," Adrian rubbed the back of his neck, "if gods are real, then I probably died." "You did." So he looked down at himself. "No injuries, no blood, no hospital? No? No afterlife?" "This is part of it." The god of knowledge, an elderly man with silver eyes that resembled galaxies, leaned forward. "Your death was premature. Fate was interrupted. The threads of destiny tangled." The Lady of Fortune sighed dramatically. "I warned the weaver that leaving probability unattended would cause trouble." The armored god of war snorted. "You blame chance for everything. I govern chance." "Exactly." Their casual argument almost made Adrian forget where he was. Almost. So he swallowed. "What happens now?" Silence settled across the chamber. The answer came not from the goddess, nor the old scholar, nor the warrior. It came from the cloaked figure beneath the ancient tree. "You are offered another hunt." The voice was deep, ancient, not loud, yet it carried through the stars like distant thunder rolling across mountains. For the first time, Adrian met the hidden god's gaze. Golden eyes, predatory, neither kind nor cruel, simply watching. "You may begin another life." The Lady of Fortune waved a hand. Golden light blossomed between them. An enormous wheel materialized. Countless names spun endlessly across its surface. Warrior, mage, knight, alchemist, priest, runesmith, spirit tamer, dragon rider. Names flashed faster than Adrian could read. "You may freely choose your class," the goddess of life explained. "Or," Fortune smiled mischievously, "accept uncertainty." Another option appeared. Its letters shimmered differently from the rest. Random selection. Reward. One additional divine blessing. Adrian stared. The old s- Adrian stared. The old instincts of countless games surfaced immediately. A random class? The god of knowledge adjusted his spectacles. "It may grant you greatness." The god of war folded his arms. "Or misery." The Lady of Fortune grinned. "That's the exciting part." Adrian laughed, despite himself. "I've spent years playing games. I always told myself I'd never press the random button, and yet..." He looked at the wheel. His father once hunted knowing the forest could be generous or merciless. Every hunt carried uncertainty. Perhaps life wasn't so different. A hunter without prey eventually forgets why he sharpened his spear. The memory returned unbidden. Adrian smiled. I'll take random. Even the stars seemed to pause. The goddess blinked. So quickly? If I start over trying to guarantee success, won't I just become the same person again? No one spoke. And for the first time, the hidden god smiled. Barely. Yet Adrian somehow knew. He had heard the wheel begin to turn. Slowly, then faster. Faster. Names blurred into streaks of golden light. Dragon Saint, Arc Sage, Phoenix Knight, Shadow Monarch, Spirit Walker, hundreds, thousands, millions, until it stopped. The light vanished. Silence engulfed the hall. The smiling faces of several gods stiffened. The god of war frowned. The goddess of life lowered her eyes. Even Fortune's expression lost its playfulness. Only the cloaked hunter remained unchanged. A crimson window appeared before Adrian. Class acquired. Dark class. Lycanthrope. No one celebrated. No heavenly choir sang. The chamber felt colder. Adrian slowly looked around. I'm guessing that's bad. The god of knowledge answered quietly. In your new world, dark classes are not feared because they are evil. He paused. They are feared because history remembers what happens when they are left alone. Another window appeared. Lycanthrope, a class born from the primal curse of the first beast. Strength beyond mortal flesh, instincts beyond human perception, regeneration that defies death. Price. The beast hungers. Should instinct overcome reason, the hunter becomes the hunted. Adrian read every word twice, then once more. So, I slowly become a monster? No, the cloak god spoke again. You slowly forget where the beast ends and where the man begins. Those words stuck far deeper than any curse description. Not because they promised suffering, because they questioned identity itself. If the beast inherited his memories, if it loved the people he loved, if it believed itself to be Adrian, at what point would Adrian truly be gone? The hall fell silent once more. Then, the silver moonlight descended from the endless sky. The hidden god rose from his throne for the first time. Both wolves stood beside him. Every other deity watched in silence. Silver chains formed around Adrian's soul. They did not bind, they connected. I grant my blessing. A white wolf emerged from the moonlight. Its fur shimmered like freshly fallen snow beneath winter stars. Unlike every wolf Adrian had ever seen, its eyes held compassion, not savagery. It approached him without fear, then gently rested its forehead against his own. Warmth flooded his entire being, not power, recognition, as though something ancient had accepted him. A final screen appeared. Divine blessing received. Hunter's promise. Every beast may choose its path. Conditions hidden. Remain true to the hunt. The silver chains disappeared into his chest before Adrian could speak. The god of hunts uttered one final sentence, a sentence that echoed through every corner of the endless heavens. Remember this. It is not the darkness within a soul that creates monsters. It is the moment one decides that darkness is all they are. A light surrounding Adrian slowly settled. Another object materialized between his hands. It was a small leather pouch, no larger than the kind hikers might carry on a belt. Its rich brown leather had been carefully stitched with silver threads, while a polished wooden clasp carved with unfamiliar runes secured the opening. It looked ordinary, too ordinary. Adrian turned it over in his hands. A pouch? One of the gods chuckled. Every summoned traveler receives one. Think of it as your first traveling companion. It isn't particularly impressive, another added, but you'll soon discover its value. The pouch grew warm. Silver letters appeared before Adrian. Traveler's pouch, rarity uncommon. A magically enchanted storage pouch commonly bestowed upon summoned travelers. Capacity 10 item slots. Maximum stack size 10 identical items per slot. Weight limit limited. Large objects, living creatures, and whole corpses cannot be stored. Items placed within are preserved in the condition they are entered. Adrian blinked. So, food won't spoil? Precisely, replied one of the gods. The enchantment suspends the passage of time for anything safely stored inside. Another god smiled. Quite useful for travelers who don't know when they'll find their next meal. Curiosity overcame him. He loosened the clasp. The inside appeared completely empty. He slipped one hand inside. Instead of touching the opposite side, his fingers disappeared into darkness. That's impossible. The pouch was barely larger than his palm, yet his entire forearm vanished inside without resistance. It's connected to a small dimensional space, one of the gods explained. A common convenience throughout Eldros. Common? Adrian repeated. For adventurers, merchants, and explorers with the means to acquire one, came the reply. Though an uncommon traveler's pouch is beyond the reach of most ordinary villagers. Adrian withdrew his hand. The pouch weighed almost nothing. So I can't just carry an entire house around. A few of the gods laughed. No, the enchantment obeys two simple rules. The silver text shifted. Storage restrictions. Maximum of 10 occupied slots. Up to 10 identical items may share one slot. Heavy or oversized objects exceed the pouch's dimensional limit. Living beings cannot be stored. Corpses cannot be stored. Items remain preserved until removed. Seems fair. The god of hunts, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. A hunter who carries only what he needs travels farther than one who burdens himself with excess. Adrian looked down at the pouch, resting quietly in his hands. It wasn't a legendary treasure, it wasn't a divine weapon. It was simply useful. Somehow that suited him perfectly. The clasp closed with a soft click. Moments later, the hall of the gods dissolved into brilliant white. and Adrian felt the world beneath his feet disappear. With nothing but the hunter's promise, the clothes on his back, and a modest traveler's pouch at his side, he began the first steps of a journey that would one day change the fate of Eldros. In that instance, the stars shattered, the hall dissolved into brilliant white, and somewhere far below, a lone wolf howled beneath an unfamiliar moon. Adrian's second life had begun.